These are 10 players I think are gonna have a breakout year in 2023. So this is for players that have been in the league or are going to hit new peaks. So not rookies or old heads coming back, but players that are gonna step up their game to new levels compared to their previous Overwatch League seasons. And disclaimer, this video gets a bit more unhinged as it goes. With that being said, I'm going to start with RuPaul, and last year he showed to be very proficient on Baptiste and played a respectable brig in the Summer Showdown Jotes meta, but ultimately he played second fiddle to Benjed more often than not. He seemed like a good fit to round out flex support on the team, but I didn't see much more than an upper mid player, and actually I was a bit surprised to see that RuPaul was retained for this season, and then even more astonished when it was revealed that he would be the only non-Korean starter. Then Team USA Trials and the Pro-Am happened, and my worldview shifted. RuPaul improved so much through this offseason, it's genuinely wild. He demonstrated that he is a very intelligent player and has the mechanics to back it up. Through the Pro-Am, his Kiriko was the best we've seen since playoffs, and his Ana cooldown consistency was unparalleled. I mean, he won the Pro-Am MVP. It's not every day you see people get hyped for a flex support that isn't stylistically aggressive, but RuPaul is catching everyone's attention and for all the right reasons. By the end of this season, or even right now, he might be the best Western support, and he has nothing but his hard work to thank for it. Get ready to call this man the fielder of NA, because it's gonna happen. Last year when Speedly came of age halfway through the Summer Showdown with the Reign, he had big expectations. He was almost supposed to be a savior who would give Atlanta the firepower they needed to break through third place and win a tournament. Needless to say, he did not live up to the hype, and Atlanta would see no success with him in the lineup to no fault of his own. In the end, he was a decently effective high mid-level player. He never quite gelled with the team and he couldn't get into the flow of things. But now he's with all the AT boys in Toronto, surrounded by familiar players with complete confidence in his skills and the willingness to base entire compositions around setting him up to pop off. His Tracer was called into question when the roster was announced, but from what we saw in the Pro-Am, he'll be able to hang with the best of them. Now, Speed is a meta-dependent player, as his Echo is far and beyond his best hero, but if he can make it work for at least a chunk of the season, he'll live up to his initial expectations and be a true carry on Toronto. This is Dante's first season where he knows he is the tank player of his team, and I think this is really important. Last season it was oh, let's try Dante out on Doom, and then it snowballed into Dante taking over the role entirely. And he did play well on Doom. He had a solid Junker Queen, and he even showcased some respectable off-tank gameplay. He was inflexible, but he was very good on his heroes by the end of the season. The critical thing here though are his main tanks. Despite placing third in the playoffs, it's pretty clear that Dante's mechanics and decision making on Winston are not quite up to par with most of his competition. This actually followed into the Pro-Am and seemed to have amplified during the course of the offseason. Now, as we know, Dante performed much better than anticipated on the Winston in the Pro-Am, and he had a very good Ramattra. But this is just the start. The Gladiators are going to give Dante the time and support he needs to fully flesh out his tanking pool. His baseline on tank is already quite high because he has a great macro understanding of the game, which is what let him get by in the playoffs. So as he learns more of the micro of each tank, he's going to be a demon and I think have no problem solo tanking this season. Finn had some great moments last year, but during tournaments when the light shined brightest, he made critical errors that are hard to overlook. In the regular season though, he was making big plays, setting up proper, and was an overall difference maker even if he got caught out more than you'd like. This placed him into the very good tier but kept him away from joining elite company. This season, he has the experience earned from a high pressure rookie year and his O2 Blast squad beside him. He'll play with more confidence, and familiarity plus communicating fluently is usually a plus, especially when he has a more aggressive playstyle. He already showed elite potential, so there isn't too much more to say, but I am confident he'll make the jump and be a truly elite flex support. It's easy to forget that MN3 was actually more hyped than Zest going into last year. His mechanical skill is among the highest in the league, but his last season was plagued with inconsistencies in terms of his own gameplay and as well as playtime. For some god unknown reason, Carpe was stealing maps from him left and right at various points throughout the year, and I actually think it hurt his development. His highs and lows averaged into a pretty good player, but he could be so much more than that. This year, he is 1 year wiser, with no Carpe breathing down his throat and no Philly curse breaking his back. If the consistency comes, he is no joke a top 3 hit scan in the league, especially if Sojourn keeps her head ass out of the meta. He literally had maps where he was the lobby administrator on Ashe. And if that becomes a common occurrence, even with the questionable players around him and Zest, the Infernal are going to pound. Punk has been constantly fighting coaching staff trying to keep him down since he joined the league 3 years ago. He's always shown promise, but between how shit the Uprising have been year after year, and the musical chairs between being benched and starting, it feels like he's never gotten a really good shot to prove his true worth and settled in as an average tank. But now, he finally has a coaching staff that believes in his abilities and are committed to him for the long haul. Plus, he has a team with real superstar potential between Sugar Free and Aspire. This is all he needs to step in and be that guy. His solo tanking ability is a valid concern, but I think he looked perfectly suitable in the Pro-Am group stages and has the capacity to improve to an above average level on main tanks. This is a bit of a weird one because Violet is one of the best players in the history of Overwatch, but I mean this for him as a main support hyperflex. Last season, a lot of people had him as a top 5 Lucio, but I don't think he was there quite yet. His improvements were noticeable as the season went on, to the point of being a top 10 Lucio, but he still has a lot to improve on with beat timings, general positioning, and synergy overall. His Lucio, and with how prevalent that character is what holds him back from being the first truly elite hyperflex support. Now, with a year of Lucio under his belt, he has a pretty good chance to break into the top 5. He should also be used to not being the star of a backline from playing with Finn last year, and once he gets used to Shu's playstyle, which is already pretty close to his own, they have a high chance to gel well and be the most deadly support duo in the league. Of course, as I'm sure all the Shock fans know, two aggressive supports playing together can also result in feeding. However, I am choosing to believe that will not happen in this case. Even though this is Checkmate's 3rd season in the league, he may as well have been a rookie last year with the Reinhardt shenanigans in Season 3. He showcased great flexibility, but nothing on any individual hero to really wow, along with slight inconsistency, leading to him being an about average player, I would say. This year, he's looking to show that he is a borderline elite player on Tracer, while still utilizing one of the widest hero pools in the league, and he has a lot going for him. Sustained synergy with someone in RuPaul, a phenomenal coaching staff headed by Gunba, who is very keen to try off-meta comps and utilize a variety of heroes, and he already has a tournament victory under his belt. Checkmate is ready to step up big time, and if his flexibility is well utilized, he could be a cornerstone piece for the Mayhem. Now, this mag pick might throw off some people here, but hear me out. Even though he has done nothing but disappoint through 2 seasons, has pretty much never looked above average for any duration of time, and is at this point one of the biggest flops in league history, he has also had Supreme as coach this whole time. The Justice as a team has had the same mistakes their entire existence, and if that doesn't scream coaching diff, I don't know what does. Having finally been freed from his Washington shackles, he can mentally reset in an entirely different region. And sometimes a change of scenery can completely change the trajectory of a player's career. And I can see that happening over in Seoul. I'll be honest, this is more of a bold prediction than anything I can really rationalize, but I see this vision so clearly in my head that I cannot stay silent anymore. 2023 is the year Mag lives up to his initial hype. Be ready. MCD's Owl career has not been good. It started off with a mediocre and racist performance on the Spark, which landed him in Boston, where he had an impoverished year, to now coming back to the Element, Mystic Core, and Rush. Rush is a miracle worker, with the ability to transform players into mere cogs of a machine, provided that they have the mechanics at Gurio. Being with the familiar, championship-winning EM Core will immediately level up his play, plus he'll have a rage buff when he plays against the Chinese teams. This pick is entirely based on Rush and the Dallas Fuel system, but it does not take a lot to improve on his last year. So even if he just looks like an average player, that is big for them. Let me know down below a player that you think is going to level up next season, and also later today I'll be doing a stream where I rank all of the rookies and damage players in the league, so tap in if you want to vibe, or just wait till the top 10 video comes out later this week. That's chill too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, have yourself a good one, deuces.